Tanner Scott would be the best reliever the Boston Red Sox can get on the market at this point. But can they close a deal with him?
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Hurlbut, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday straight to your favorite podcast feed, and it is completely free. So you might as well tune in constantly because Locked On is here for you every day. And I promise you, no other Red Sox podcast does this kind of thing where they have content every day. So if you want your daily fix, this is 100% the show for you. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Such a fun time of year with the NFL playoffs coming up here, and also baseball season is right around the corner. We are getting closer and closer, and I do have to say this offseason in general has been very underwhelming, slow market, players waiting to sign, and I'm going to be touching on a specific player whose market is very much in a stall right now. And do the Red Sox have a chance to bring him in? Going to be discussing that a little bit later, as well as a hypothetical situation of what if the Red Sox do make all of the right moves? What happens to this Red Sox team if they do? So lots to be discussed today. And as we sit here and we wait for moves to be made and for news to drop and for players to get closer to signing contracts, it's easy to lose patience because the Red Sox haven't made an impactful move since they brought in Walker Buehler. It's been a bit since then. And while their starting rotation is already better than it was in 2024, there's no doubt about the fact that they still could use some bullpen help. And one piece that could very much help elevate the bullpen, no question, is Tanner Scott, who is a bona fide closer. And rumor has it, as of right now, that the Red Sox are the clear front runners to sign Scott. According to Jim Bowden from The Athletic, a former MLB general manager, he did say that Scott and the Red Sox makes a lot of sense. He's the most impactful closer on the market, and teams are lining up for him right now, but they're all waiting for the asking price to drop, which is why he hasn't signed anywhere yet. So the Red Sox are probably interested in him, but are hoping to benefit from him making the decision to lower his price so that a team can bring him in. Bowden said that the Red Sox are the clear front runners for Scott. And here's one reason why I could believe that. Because Craig Breslow was a left-handed reliever in his playing days, and he seems really adamant on loading up this team with left-handed pitchers. He's already signed 3 in free agency, including Patrick Sandoval, Aroldis Chapman, and Justin Wilson, and he acquired 2 more via trades, which is Garrett Crochet and Giovanni Moran. So he seems really adamant on getting lefties, which is good for the Red Sox in terms of their diversity as a pitching staff to be able to have a good amount of lefties in there. Alex Cora has also said that he prefers one single closer as opposed to trying to experiment and having multiple guys test out the closing position and kind of use different guys throughout the season in that role. And since Cora wants one single closer, Scott is the best one available, and he's a guy who would come in here and no doubt be that 9th inning guy, the guy who can hopefully buckle down in that last inning of games and get the job done so that the Red Sox can win. So those are the primary reasons why I wouldn't think it's completely far-fetched to think the Red Sox could be front runners for Scott. But at the same time, it is a rumor, and rumors don't always weigh a lot. So we'd have to wait and see what more information is revealed before confirming this information. But I'm sure that the Red Sox are in the mix. I'm being told that there are a lot of big market teams that are vying for Scott, and they're all in line just waiting for him to lower the price a little bit, and then they'll jump on it. And I am inclined to believe the Red Sox are one of those teams that's in that mix because they know how important he would be to this team. They know how much he would improve the team. And imagine if you added him in there, a bona fide closer to contribute out of your bullpen, along with the guys you already have in there, like Garrett Whitlock, Liam Hendricks, Justin Slayton, now Aroldis Chapman in there, maybe Justin Wilson being thrown in, and you can kind of mix and match some other guys who showed potential last year, like Luis Guerrero. So you can kind of have other guys who you experiment with, and it paves the way for them to really make their mark within this Red Sox organization, and guys who are young for them to be able to have their breakthrough, but also having a bona fide closer can help you to feel 100% confident late in games. And you could say what you want about Kenley Jansen, that it was a roller coaster of an experience when he was pitching, which 100% is fair because you never really know what version of Kenley you were going to get. The one who got 3 outs and just had a 1-2-3 ninth inning, just absolutely shoving, or the guy who put a couple base runners on and then got the Red Sox out of it. But regardless of what version you got of him, the majority of the time, he still got the job done and was able to get guys out. And that's what you want out of your closer. Somebody who's able to get guys out and can go out there and just be absolute nails in those 1 or 2 run games when the Red Sox are trying to conserve a lead. And by bringing in Scott, you know you have that guy who can do that. I don't think the Red Sox would be willing to spend the type of money that he's asking for right now. And I think his market has been stalled for that reason, because of the asking price for him compared to what the teams are willing to pay. So hopefully he and his agent lower the price asking a little bit, because then he'd be more likely to sign somewhere. And he needs to sign somewhere so we can kind of start to get into the groove of things as pitchers and catchers have to start reporting. And I feel like his market is kind of slowing down the rest of the reliever market. He sets the tone. Once he goes somewhere, I think everybody else will start to sign. I don't think it'll be too much longer before he makes a decision, but I'm really hoping it's the Red Sox, because it just makes too much sense for a team that is in need of a closer because of Kenley being a free agent now. And they do have relievers who they could try out in the closing spot, but there's no guarantee that those guys are going to be the right fit to be an actual closer, whereas this guy has legitimate closing experience and he's proven himself in that role. He's 30 years old and evolved into an elite reliever with the Marlins over the last couple seasons before a trade to the Padres at the 2024 trade deadline. He has experience both as a closer and a setup man. So theoretically, even if he came here and the Red Sox didn't use him as a closer, which they 100% should, and I don't see why they wouldn't, but theoretically, Cora could give him the 9th inning or opt for a more fluid, high leverage role. So maybe that means he pitches the 8th inning and then they go to somebody else like Hendricks in the 9th or something like that. Or maybe they have him pitch both the 8th and 9th innings. Him having that flexibility is really good for the Red Sox. But they won't be alone in pursuing him for sure, as there are so many other teams that are in the mix for him. But it's no doubt that he would make the Red Sox a better team. He had a 1.75 ERA across 72 appearances with the Fish and Friars last season. He struck out 10.5 batters per 9 innings and earned an all-star selection. So that's dominant work. He generates tons of swings and misses regularly, and it was really hard for opposing hitters to hit against him. And what I really like about Scott is that he has maintained a level of consistency, even despite the fact that he got traded at the deadline. He went from one location to another, and it didn't stop him, because sometimes you see players, if they move locations when they're already acclimated to one spot, and they're used to being in that spot and their routine includes that spot, then they go to another team. Sometimes that all gets thrown off and it affects their pitching performance. So I really like the fact that him going to San Diego didn't impact the way that he pitched. And that's also something to take note of, is if he comes to Boston, even though it would be a new place for him, hopefully he's still able to pitch just as effectively, because he has proven that he can switch locations and it's fine. So I'm hoping that the Red Sox are really making a big push, because it's no secret that he would be the guy. I mentioned this on the podcast months ago. I said, Tanner Scott is a guy I want in a Red Sox uniform. I said it so long ago, to where I said, if they don't sign him, that would be very disappointing. And the Red Sox, I could see maybe not getting him, because if other teams are offering him slightly more, or if Breslow and company are like, you know what, we went heavy on the lefties this offseason, so we don't necessarily need to bring in another one. That would be disappointing to me, but I could see the Red Sox having that justification of, okay, we did our due diligence to sign some lefties to bring in this offseason to help make this Boston Red Sox team better. So why bring in another one? But Scott is dominant. He has really good stuff when he's out there, is relatively consistent both at home and on the road, which is also something that's noteworthy, because obviously if he switched from one team to another, that means his home field switched, but he was able to pitch effectively in both places. And if you know that a pitcher pitches well both on the road and at home, then you can feel good about them, because the Red Sox do have some pitchers who were inconsistent and were much stronger either at home or on the road than they were vice versa. And if you can have somebody who can do both, it seems to be no question and a no-brainer to me that they should sign Scott to make their bullpen that much better. But we'll see if the Red Sox feel that same way. And coming up, what's the holdup with Alex Bregman's market? Do the Red Sox have a realistic shot of landing him? That is coming up next. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. One of my favorite memories was attending a concert last year. The energy and excitement were unforgettable. Now, Gametime has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature, Gametime Picks. This feature filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Recently, I was looking for tickets to an upcoming game using the Gametime app. With Gametime Picks, I found amazing deals and could even see the view from my seat before buying. The super deal was particularly impressive, offering great seats at unbeatable prices. Plus, the app's all-in pricing shows the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. Gametime absolutely has you covered for all of your ticketing needs. I highly recommend you checking it out. I love the prices, and they're always lower than any other ticketing service. So it will save you money if you go the Gametime route, and your experience with ticket purchasing will be that much better, because it's getting crazy how ridiculously expensive things are now. And attending a sporting event with a family, if you have kids and you want to bring everybody, Gametime will make sure that it's affordable for you and your loved ones. I've been talking about the Red Sox and rumors that have been associated with the Red Sox in regards to the rest of this offseason. And it is rumored right now for them to be the favorites for closer Tanner Scott, which I would absolutely love. Just a reminder again to take that rumor with a grain of salt, because rumors are what they are, rumors. But if it is the case that they are the front runners, I would love to see him in a Boston Red Sox uniform. And while we wait on that, we're also waiting on a key infielder to sign somewhere, and that is Alex Bregman, whose market is also being held up. Why? I would suspect because he wants to go to a team that either has yet to offer him a contract or hasn't offered him what he wants yet, and he's trying to get them to up their offer. Because I feel like there are so many teams that would be vying for Bregman this offseason because let's face it, he's a veteran right-handed bat who plays in the infield, who can provide a lot of offensive versatility. So there isn't really a reason for teams not to want him, especially because of the fact that he's a proven winner. He's won the World Series before. He knows what it's like to play in the postseason year after year because of, for so long, the Astros being in the ALCS every year. So for somebody like him to go to a team, that would be very appealing to them, is all of those factors. So I find it hard to believe that there aren't really teams vying for him and that there aren't teams who have made an offer. I'm just inclined to believe that he is waiting on a specific team that hasn't matched his price. And I'd like to think that team is the Red Sox, because too many times I have heard encounters of him feeling like he wants to go to Boston and reports saying that he would enjoy playing with Alex Cora. So all of that to me means there is a chance that other teams have put in an offer, like the Blue Jays or the Tigers, for example, teams that were also in the mix for him, but that he wasn't interested in going to those teams. So he decided not to make that kind of commitment. And I would not be surprised if there's a specific team he wants. He's going to wait until that team offers what he wants. And if eventually it gets later and later and they don't, he's just going to have to settle and go elsewhere. But the word urgency still continues to pop into my head because some teams have been more urgent than others this offseason in regards to the moves that they're making. And one thing to note about the Red Sox is that they may have been urgent when it came to some of these players, like Juan Soto. Obviously, they offered him a good amount of money. Max Fried, same thing. They were willing to offer him a bigger contract. But do they have that urgency now? Because they feel like they made a couple moves to improve their pitching rotation, and they made a couple smaller moves to improve the bullpen. But what I'm worried about is them knowing that they made the adjustments they need to make to their pitching, and they're saying, okay, we did what we have to do and addressed our primary area of need, so we don't have to do a whole lot more. Because my worry is that they rely too much on the guys they have offensively. And no disrespect to the offense. I mean, the offense put up good numbers in 2024 while Trevor Story and Tristan Casas were injured for most of the season. So having them back in the lineup should certainly help. But the problem is that them as a whole lineup struck out a lot in 2024. And there were just a lot of inconsistencies in terms of the Red Sox being able to hit one game and then not being able to hit at all the next game. And that's more of a hitting coach approach, but they decided to retain Pete Fatsi as the hitting coach. So they have to either make him make an adjustment or try to get another bat who's reliable to add into the lineup. And you also don't know what kind of sophomore season guys like Wilyer Abreu and Cedar Rafaela are going to have. I'm hoping for more improvement from Rafaela, especially at the plate, because he does play remarkable defense, but his plate discipline still is not there and he needs to work on that. So I'm hoping that he's able to increase his level of productivity on offense a little bit more. Then you have Wilyer Abreu, who had a great freshman season, and is he going to face a slump his sophomore year with the Red Sox, or is he going to continue to elevate? Is he even going to be here? Because I have proposed his name in some potential trades for Boston this offseason. So that's another question to ask, is what is the fate of some of those guys? But what I don't want to see happen is the Red Sox trying to rely too much on the growth of everybody, because at the end of the day, not every player is going to progress to the level that the team wants them to progress at. And it can be disappointing for some to accept that, but the sooner the Red Sox front office accepts that it's okay to work with your young talent and develop some of those guys, you also want to mix them with experienced veterans who are proven and you know what you're getting from them. And I feel like when it comes to this Boston Red Sox team, they still seem really hesitant to commit longer term to veterans because they want to focus on just the growth of their guys internally, which, yes, I get they have a lot of talent internally, but it leads to a lot of risk and a lot of question mark. And bringing in somebody like Bregman could help solidify the Red Sox lineup. And going back to Tanner Scott, even too, if the Red Sox sign Alex Bregman and Tanner Scott, they could easily be seen as a favorite to win the American League. That is how easy it is. They have more money to spend. If they just threw the money at those two players, they could literally call it an offseason, and I would feel really good about the roster going into 2025. But for some reason, because of the way the Red Sox have operated over the last few years, it makes me feel not confident at all in them deciding to do that. And it's disappointing because the talent is certainly there and the ability level for them to put up some competitive seasons moving forward. But they just don't have that last thing, it feels like, to help them get over that hump. And so I am interested in seeing if they feel the same way. So with Bregman's market, I feel like he easily could have signed by now because there's no way that there aren't teams vying for him. I just think it's a matter of he has in mind a team that he wants to go to, and that team hasn't matched what he's looking for yet and isn't close to offering that much. And that team very well could be the Red Sox because this has been a theme for them over the last few years that they weren't really serious when it came to the offers that they made, and they were pretty far off what other teams offered, and then players ended up going elsewhere because of that. So it could be a scenario where he's giving them so many chances, and as soon as they shout out a number that he likes, he would take it. So that's why I feel like Bregman's market is so held up right now. And with the Boston Red Sox, yes, they have a lot of young talent in the system. They have guys who are going to be coming up eventually to contribute, but we don't know exactly what those guys are going to be right now. When they're in the minors, it's so hard to know who's going to pan out in the majors and who's not. Injuries play a factor. Their ability to adjust at the major league level makes a factor. And you just have things that they as a front office cannot control when it comes to these players and how they perform at the major league level. So by not bringing in that veteran bat, you're basically accepting that, okay, we know these guys don't have a 100% guarantee to develop in the way that we're hoping they do, but we're willing to take that chance. And that still goes back to that conservative offseason format that we've seen from John Henry the last few years. I do give Craig Breslow credit because he has found ways to improve the team despite the fact that John Henry refuses to spend lots of money on players. And he's been able to improve the pitching rotation by going and acquiring guys who are cheaper, but will still be good for the Red Sox, primarily Garrett Crochet. But when it comes to this infield situation and just getting another solid right-handed bat in there, them not even showing much interest at all in bringing back Tyler O'Neill. They evidently weren't really close on Teoscar Hernandez either. That makes me feel like they feel like their outfield situation is set, and they want to focus their energy on an infielder to acquire a right-handed bat. And I just hope that John Henry isn't afraid to spend money on the right player, and that player could be Alex Bregman, because I truly do believe he could be a good fit in Boston with all of his experience, and especially the fact that he has a good relationship with Alex Cora. So I feel like he could really benefit some of the younger guys on the roster, and I genuinely do believe that Boston is a place where he would want to play because he knows that he puts up good competitive offensive numbers there. So again, we'll see if the Red Sox agree with me on that. But coming up, what happens if they do make all the right moves hypothetically? What would that look like for the Red Sox? From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same game parlays, and so much more. visit the website and check out everything they have to offer, because if you type in your favorite team, they'll generate different bets related to your team, which is super cool. Just visit fanduel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's fanduel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. You can make lots of money with FanDuel. I'm telling you, I've seen it firsthand. So make sure that you download the FanDuel app today if you haven't yet, and start winning lots of money, because honestly, who wouldn't be happy with making more money? Obviously, John Henry is pretty happy with making money, but isn't very happy with spending it on players to invest in the Boston Red Sox. And this is a big, very important offseason for Boston, one in which they have to make moves. I mean, they were feeling the pressure from the fans, who are super important to the organization because the fans drive lots of revenue by spending money on tickets to go to the games and being the people who are there uplifting the players when they're struggling. Finally, the front office heard the frustrations coming from the fan base. So they said they were going to have a big offseason, and they've made some good moves to their pitching, but they still need a couple more pieces, which to me would be a right-handed bat and a closer. And I've already mentioned Tanner Scott and Alex Bregman, which would be the dream of all dreams. Those two players, if the Red Sox bring them in, would solidify them as one of the best teams in the American League. I truly do believe that. That would be a hard team for opposing teams to face. But will the Red Sox go that hard to get those guys? Unfortunately, I'm not seeing it, because that's not the way the Red Sox have acted over the last few seasons. But hypothetically, if all of the right moves are made for the Red Sox, what if they go into the season and have filled all the holes that were in the roster and pulled the trigger on the best players they could have gotten to play in the position still of need? For example, like a Tanner Scott or Alex Bregman to play the positions that they play. What happens if they were to make those two moves? They would easily be a playoff team, and also likely could be a division winner, because I'm looking at the team right now and I'm giving the Yankees the slight edge over the Red Sox in terms of which team is more likely to win the division right now. But if the Red Sox can get those two players, that would easily put them over that hump and in the conversation of being favorites in the AL East. And if what the front office said is true, which again, you never know with this front office, because they have lied to us before when it came to moves they were going to make and not actually following through with that. But they said their goal is to win the division. So if that is actually the case and their goal is to win the division, that means you have to go out and not be afraid or not be passive when it comes to making the right kinds of moves. You have to go out there and be aggressive and make your voice heard. And if the Red Sox were to do everything right, they could win the division, because you have a division right now that is in a great spot for a team to jump ahead, because you have the Blue Jays and Rays, both of which struggled during the 2024 season. I do think the Blue Jays will have a better season in 2025 than they did last year. But if the Red Sox make the right moves, they could still be easily ahead of those two teams. Then you have the Orioles, who were a playoff team last year, but haven't done a crazy amount to improve the roster. Plus, they lost Corbin Burns at the top of their rotation. So that's a big loss for them. So I don't know that the Orioles will be as good as they were in 2024. They might still be a wild card team, but I don't see a team that nears 100 wins in 2025. Granted, they're going to be getting some of their guys back healthy, like Grayson Rodriguez, who was injured in 2024. That's a big ad for them for 2025. So that should help them in that regard. But I don't see them being close to a 100-win team like I saw in 2024. So that could help elevate the Red Sox too. Then you look at the Yankees, who have a very strong rotation with Garrett Cole and Max Fried at the top. And then you have guys in their lineup who can hit. Now, granted, losing Juan Soto undoubtedly forms a hole in their lineup. I don't see their lineup being as good as it was this past year. Juan Soto was a big reason why they got all the way to the World Series. So the Red Sox lineup, I'm giving the edge over the Yankees lineup, because they're more versatile and they have shown more consistency. And the Yankees needed Juan Soto's production in order to be towards the top of a lot of the offensive categories that they had. So from an offensive standpoint, I'm giving the Red Sox the edge, but from a pitching standpoint, I'm giving the Yankees the slight edge. But imagine if the Red Sox added one more bat and a bona fide closer, that would jump me ahead of the Yankees in terms of being the favorite in the division. It's just a matter of, do the Red Sox want to make that kind of commitment? And I'm sitting here right now saying this is the recipe for success in 2025. Now go and do it. You have the money, make it happen. It would be so simple for the Red Sox to just go out there and throw money at those two players. And then I would easily be able to say to myself, okay, I like the Red Sox chances in 2025. Whereas right now, I still think the Yankees win the division until the Red Sox make a couple more moves. So the keys to the kingdom are right in front of them. It's just a matter of, do they take them or do they keep the door locked? And I'm hoping that they take them, they open the door and see the possibilities of what this team can do in 2025, because I firmly believe they are one or two really solid pieces away from being a favorite in their division. But John Henry, Craig Breslow, Sam Kennedy, those types of people have to agree with me in order to make this happen. So we will see what they do and if they do agree with me or not. But I do appreciate you making Locked On Red Sox your first listen today. Next, be sure to check out Locked On MLB with host Paul Sullivan, aka Sully, who will keep you up to date on all things going on around Major League Baseball. So if you're looking to stay caught up in what's going on with other teams, make sure you subscribe to that show on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Like I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.